done getting to know each other, so let's have a baby already, It should just happen, but it didn't. And we ended up going to our doctor and talking to them and asking them, look, we need help. I ran to my husband, baby, oh, I'm pregnant. And I think for him, he was like, whew, because that other process, and slowly, my ability to cook started to go away. And I had to have my friend come over and cook for us. I had motion sickness. I didn't tell you about this one, but I had bad motion sickness. Like, the biggest struggle I had was the transition of going back to work, being a new mom, to start off with. I mean, the first helper that I got when we was living at a flat in the avenues, she'd leave the baby in the house and she'd go places. And the work expectations never changed. The judgment was the worst. So I actually had a child at the same time with another male colleague.
And male. Whoa, how wonderful. Yeah. He's not breastfeeding. He's not pumping. His breasts don't get engorged.
I was tired, Yeah. Then probably I know that there's laundry that needs to be done. I'm waking up at 2 a.m., 3 a.m. to make sure that the laundry is done. At least if I can just leave it in the buckets, then the helper will put it on the washing line, but we keep it moving. And that was my life. Anyway, so I'm excited and I'm like, there's a master's program at Africa University, Child and Family Studies. I want to do that. Then I applied again and I was accepted. I was so happy. Yay, I'm getting in. A week later, I was drinking coffee. I was nauseous.
And you said, oh, disaster. Disaster. You have no words. You're just like, no.
Yeah. And literally my whole house of cards came down, and it was one of those moments where I was like, I was just starting to live again. And here I am going through this, I can't. And I had said to myself, I would not have another baby while on the same job because my job was so demanding. And I kept thinking, how am I even going to cope? Thinking about what I went through with the first one and all of those things and all the demands and how would I even manage with a second baby, So I told my husband, I was like, yep, we're pregnant. And I was like, oh, okay, we're going to get through this. Yay! I'm like, yay. Anyway, at that point, I started, I was thinking about, I've always had this futuristic notion in my mind that I do not want to have a 30 or 35-year-old living in my house. Even a 25-year-old, they should not be living in my house. My kids should be empowered to the point that they can be independent. Even now, they can even be independent. They can.
Janet, you're so mean. I used to say to my children, I need you to grow up. I can't deal with you. I am not a baby person. I am not one of those women who's like, I see a baby and I'm like, I kept saying to my children, I need you to be able to speak. I need you to be able to articulate. I need you to be able to tell me what's wrong because I just can't deal when you're crying, And I even bought them a house. I put the house that we built in their names. And when my son was old, I said, yeah, you see, you've graduated now. That's your house, deal with it. That's how much I need them to just like.
But I love the baby phase. But I think at some point, and even when they're older now, the banter is good. But I'm looking at what's happening in our economy, that there are a lot of kids who are still at home. And the reasons why they're still at home they're valid. I will not invalidate them in any sense or any way. But you also need to have a certain level of emancipation as an individual. You need to have a proactive stance within you that makes you a go-getter. Go and try something, in that process, in that time when I was thinking that, I was like, what could I possibly give my child now that she can hone in on and be able to make money as she grows? And then because I put crocheting in there, and then I even talked about dolls, you know. So I went out and I bought equipment. I was like, we're gonna do this. My little 3.5, she was about 3. She hadn't even turned 4. I'm like, little girl. And I even have a logo for her business. Imagine.
Yes.
Yeah.
Let's get you working. Let's get you out there. Let's get you. I need you earning money.
She had a logo for her business, and I used to start, you know. So at that point, you know, all these things are going through my mind. So I've got all these little things that I've put aside, and the hormones are raging. I'm getting sicker, and I'm getting unhappy, and my doctor won't give me like sick leave, because he's like, you can go to work. But each time I get in the car and I go to work, I struggle to get to work because of the motion sickness. I get there, I walk out, I lean on the car, and I'm like, I'm going home. I can't do this. I just
Yeah.
about 10 and I'm gone. It took a while for me to be settled at work, right? Then came a time, and the morning sickness, the nausea, it wasn't morning, it was all day sickness. And this second baby was so fussy, just like yours, so petty, so fussy. There was nothing that stayed done. And this one didn't even want to eat at strangers' houses. This one was like, you know, we'll eat at home, but we have to eat what I tell you to eat, you know. The spirits, you know, you'd take a bite of something and then you have to count like to 5. Has the spirit approved?
Yes. Are we okay?
Yes. You know.
Are we all right with this? Can we take a second bite, or should we wait? And is the temperature okay?
Literally having a staff meeting every time you're cooking, you know, like an internal staff meeting. So here I am, I can't eat a thing. And then when, of all the trials, the one thing that was able to stay in was sadza and bora. And bora was just boiled, you know, just boiled with like literally a drop of cooking oil. No tomatoes, no onions, no nothing. Salt, kure. Don't try and overdo it with the salt, because no, it's not going to work. That was what I tried to live on. But there came a time when even that wouldn't stay, you know? And I had like 3 consecutive days. I couldn't drink fluids. I couldn't eat a thing. 3 consecutive days. Everything that went in, came out.
Came out.
Went in, came out. And at this point, my husband, my daughter, and I living alone at home. I didn't have help. I had no one. I had someone who would come and go, but I didn't have anyone resident. So cooking was a huge
you.
Yeah, I couldn't. My husband would try and cook, but I couldn't eat. And I think to some effect, he might have even taken it personally that I didn't want to eat the stuff that he was cooking. But it wasn't that. It was just that I couldn't. I was just struggling, you know? So when I went for these 3 days, I was like, you know what? This is enough. And then I said to him, babe, we need to go to the hospital. He's like, oh, why? I'm like, because I need to, you know? So we get to the hospital, and then they're like checking under my eyes to see the color, you know, and then they're doing all these blood tests, and they're like, what's all this for? They're like, dude, you're like really dehydrated. It's like bad. I'm like, oh, okay. They're like, no, you need to be hospitalized like now. I'm like, oh, okay.
Yeah, you're like, I just came to get a checkup. I just wasn't feeling okay, but
No, so that's what it was. And I went in and I was admitted for 5 days. Like Christmas came around the corner. Like 25 December was the day that I was discharged, like in the afternoon. I had been there the whole week, you know. And I got home. And so while I was in the hospital, right, we realized that I was like constipated. Like the doctor asked, oh, is everything working fine? Blah, 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 blah. I had gotten so used to being constipated that it was no longer a thing for me. Is everything working fine? Are you regular? Blah, blah. I'm like, oh, regular? I think I haven't gone in like 6 days or something. He's like,
what?
Yeah.
The problem.
It's like, okay, no, we need to deal with that, you know? And we tried suppositories, we tried laxatives. Nothing was moving. Nothing. You know? And at some point, I just kept it to myself. I just ended up saying, okay, no, things are moving. Don't worry, things are moving. But nothing was moving. I got to a point where I got to realize that I could have a powwow with a goat and say, go to no, go to I'm not going to say, you know, because that's the kind of stool that I had. And at some point, I actually had to like put on a glove and help myself to go through this process. Because
you needed an enema. Do you see, this is the time that you should have had an enema. Where were these people when they should have
they didn't love me
up your butt. You needed an enema.
And then you hear something so weird, like, oh no, the baby is sitting on your intestine. I'm like, dude, I'm like barely 3 months. I mean, how is the baby sitting on anything? It's like barely the size of a pea. What? Sitting on my what?
It's incredible what power these little people have. You know?
Unbelievable. So at least like when I got out of the hospital, right? It was standard that I was going to throw up every morning. And for some reason, like first thing in the morning, I don't know how they had done our kitchen at the time, but the pipes, the smell of stuff within the pipes would kind of come back, you know? So every time I woke up and that smell would kind of waft through the house, nobody else could smell it. I could. So I opened my eyes. I'm already up. I'm running to the toilet. The moment I was consciously awake, I'm out running to throw up, you know? So morning throw up was standard. There was a time when I needed to do shopping and buy some groceries for the house. I drove myself with my morning sickness to the grocery store. I get to Pick and Pay. I get by the bakery section. I smell all that bread. And
it was like, no, we're not doing this. We're not having this conversation.
I could no longer move. I couldn't move. Like I literally could not walk away from that place. So I had to ask for a chair. And now I'm stuck in the place that is the source of my discomfort. You know? I could not do a thing. Nothing. And then I picked up the phone and I called a friend from church and I said, come and pick me up. Where are you? I'm at Pick and Pay. And I had my daughter, you know, it was just the two of us. And here she is, she's 3 years old. She's confused. What's going on with mom? You know? So I couldn't do a thing. And this friend of mine came, her husband had to drive her so that he could go back with their car. And then she would then drive us. The moment I got into the thing, so it's like while I was sitting at the bakery section, I then got one of those plastics, you know, the plastics that they put the bread in? Yeah, I got one of those plastics. I was just holding onto it just in case I needed to throw up, you know? So fortunately she came, she picked me up and she walked me out of the place and we got into the car. We get in the car, the moment she turns on the engine and she starts to reverse, it all just came out. And you know what? It was all just yellow bile. That's all it was. Bile, bitter, nasty, just horrible. And that was the story of my life, you know? So yet again, I go on Finnegan 3 times a day and I'm falling asleep at work. And then you hear the boys in the office, because I was the only girl. You hear the boys say, Wana, I'll get out of it. You know? Like, guys, you have no idea.
Yeah.
You have no idea what this is like.
So true.
You know, this literally keeps me sane. And if I end up having to fall asleep as a result, this is one of the complications of what I am going through. But it gives me some semblance of normalcy. I'm not throwing up every 2 seconds. Anyway, we skip a few months forward. I get into 6 months and the doctor is like, we need to check for diabetes, you know, just to make sure that you're okay. And they do this test for diabetes where you go to the pathology center, the labs, right? And it's 7 a.m., you haven't eaten a thing. And then they take your blood, right? To take the baseline. And then after that, they give you glucose. And every 30 minutes, they're going to be testing your blood. They're going to be taking samples of your blood to see how your blood processes that glucose, right? I think it's over like 2 or 3 hours or something like that, but you get 6 of them. So they pricked every single time. I didn't have a cannula or anything like that, but they were
But I
pricking.
just put on a cannula.
They pricked every single time. Yeah, I then discovered that there was one of the nurses that was there. I recently heard that he left and he went to the States, but he was so awesome. Gosh, that guy was the best. You wouldn't even feel it. So there was this one nurse who did the first 4, and then he did the 5th one. And after that, I was like, I want him. Can he come back to do the last one? Because I didn't even feel it when he did it, you know? And even my daughter, who is like terrified of needles, when we went to Simas and she was supposed to get her blood drawn, I was like, is Nkoma Bisha here? And then they were like, oh yeah, he is. And then I was like, please bring him over so he can do this. And he did it. And she didn't even feel it. You know, that guy was
Wow.
like awesome. Because they've had like 4 or 5 of them have had to hold my daughter down. She is that much, and she can be that strong. You know, this little powerful 8-year-old. We then discovered that I was at risk of developing diabetes in my pregnancy. So the doctor was like, you need to lose weight, right? And now here I'm thinking, what's the best way of losing weight? I'm a sedentary worker. You know, I spend all day on a desk. Then I tried at some point to drop my car off at part way to work, like at my cousin's, you know, and then hike the rest of the way and then have to walk where I drop off and then get to the office and things like that. But it wasn't functional because sometimes I'd leave the office late, so it would end up being risky. Then I was like, okay, you know what, here's the thing, I'm going to cut out supper. So I stopped eating dinner. But at that same time, that's when I discovered crocheting. For some reason, I was like, let me just try this. I think I was trying to prep myself to train my daughter. So I started to try to just do stuff. I'd look at YouTube videos and stuff like that. And then I just started to crochet. And I realized that it was actually making me very happy. I went to a nice, peaceful, quiet, safe place when I was doing it. And I was making all these headbands for my daughter and stuff. Then she was wearing them to church. And then people were like, oh, this is so lovely. We want them to. And suddenly I was making money with that. You know, I was like, oh.
Had a little business going with a label. I think I told you that I started knitting when I was going through my divorce. You know, there's something so therapeutic. I have not knitted before, and after that, I knitted a whole jersey, nice orange little jersey that was just like, my kids were just like, that's never know. Whenever they wanted to stress me, they're like, where are your knitting needles? Do you need your knitting needles? It's so therapeutic. I agree with you. It's like you're meditating. You hear nothing.
Definitely. And you know the level of intensity that you put into making sure you get each stitch and each whatever, you know, and you seek perfectionism in that moment, you know. So I took this thing up and I bought this whole bag of wool, you know. I'd come back from work and I'll just pull out my bag of wool while everyone else was eating supper and doing whatever. I would just have my crochet going, and I was happy, you know. And then here I am, the day that I put the last bit of clothing into my preparation bag, and I was like, okay, this bag is now ready. I was almost like you, hey. I was like, this bag is now ready. I'm thinking, little man is coming in 3 weeks, right? And, oh, yeah. When I was in those moments of deep helplessness, that throwing up bile, not being able to just move from one point to another, I asked myself, is this going to be my life for 9 months? Yeah. 9 months is a long time. You know, people are like, hey, go to 9 months, go to 3 months, it's also better. But dude.
And it stretches.
It's
stretches.
Yes, and those are 100 some days. You know, that's 3 months shy of 365 days.
Yes.
To be honest, and someone is like, it's just 9 months. At some point, I contemplated. This is a beautiful This is a wonderful opportunity to be a mom of two. But is this the time? You know, I'm processing in my head. I wish my mom could have been here so I could just ask her some questions. I wish she could have been here so I could just lay my head in her lap, you know, and probably she would be judging me, but I would zone her out. I just need to smell her, you know, just smell her, you know, and my life was just starting to come back, you know, and I didn't want this. I mean, if I had it in my sphere of choice, I wouldn't want this right now. You know, this is what I want right now.
Right.
So I did process, you know, that maybe now is not the time. But I'm thankful because, geez, my son is like, he's just a joy. He's the best thing ever. He's amazing. I'm thankful that God gave me the strength to get through those really dark.
To get through, exactly.
Because they were dark and they were heavy. And it's only recently, like I think a month or two ago, when I actually told my husband that those were the thoughts that were going through my mind at the time.
Yeah.
You know?
Such a lonely journey.
It is. And you hear people say, how can you even think that? But until you walk a single step in my shoes, just stay away.
And you know, another thing is, I think one of the things that I find when a woman is going through something, right? There's a lot of stuff you can't even share with even your friends, you know, because they may be going through infertility issues. They may, you know, they're trying to get pregnant. So you are now pregnant saying, I don't want this baby. And you've got a couple who's saying, we just wish we could be pregnant, you know? And or you're saying, this is not a good time for my career, right? This is just, like you said, this guy is now over there and you're like, you haven't moved, right? Because he's a father and he can move and his wife is the one doing everything. You're the mother, you're the woman in this relationship, right? And then you say to people, oh, you know, I you know, maybe it's not good for my career. And then it's like, how can you be like that? How can you think like that?
Women are not allowed to have such thoughts, such desires, you know. We're supposed to be the shock absorbers. We're supposed to take it all in and just bear it, you know? Yeah, so it really was a dark time. I remember talking to someone about it and confessing it, and then they were like, you know, they like literally just laughed it off. But I was dead serious. Yeah, because I'd go to sleep crying, I'd wake up crying, and it was just a lot.
And what was going on with your relationship at the time? How was that? How was the intimacy? How was everything around the pregnancy, as it were? Because this was your sphere, and everything else is orbiting around this tummy.
So when it came to them, they were actually awesome support, like my daughter and my husband. And then I got an amazing person to come and help us, and she's still with us. And it's like the best thing ever. It's so our relationship was good. I think what was going on externally could not compensate for what was going on internally. Yeah. So we were intimate, you know, we could do all of those things. But, you know, during sex, at some point, I would feel nauseous and want to throw up, you know. That was it, you know, and it was just, that was the order of the day, you know. And it's for every appointment that I went to the doctors, I would try and make it a point that he was there or my daughter was there. When we went for the sex scan, you know, it was a big thing because I was feeling like there's something so otherworldly about this pregnancy. This has to be a different gender. Like, it has to be. So I was like, okay, guys, let's go. Let's all go find out at the same time together. So it was like the three of us there, and we were in the ultrasound room, and this guy puts this thing on, and I'm looking at the monitor. I was like, that's a boy in it. And he's like, you're dead right. And my husband was like, you baby, my son, you know? And the opposite reaction from my daughter, she broke down in tears. She cried and cried and cried.
A sister.
She wanted a little something to play with, you know, a little something she could groom and nurture and things like that, you know. So I had to have the conversation with her and say, sweetheart, you know, when we found out that we were having you, we were excited that we were having a baby. Not that we were having a daughter, but that we were having a baby, you know. And it's the same thing with this baby. It doesn't matter whether he's a brother or whether he's a sister or whether she's a sister. It's our baby. You know, imagine if we were upset about what you were when we found out about you. So here it is, God has blessed us with a baby that we need to love, you know. And you know, she grew into it and she felt better. And right now the two of them are like two peas in a pod. It's so inseparable. You know?
Sweet. That's so
Yeah. Everything they fight like crazy, but they love like crazy, you know. So
It's very weird. My kids are like that. If you hear them, right, you would think it's World War III,
yeah.
right? Try and just enter into or say something negative about the one to the other. Lord have mercy. You will be like, I thought you were all fighting. They're like, the way they will turn on you, like, do you know, they are so in sync that if one is insulted, right, by somebody, that person is persona non grata to it's like we are not talking, the whole family is not talking to that person because they did X to the other. I'm just like, but no, Mom, we will not. It's a disloyal to the pack.
So I'm actually getting to the end of my story. So my son, I go to work one day, like the day after I finish packing my bag. I'm like, yay, this is done. I go to work the next day. It's a Friday, half day at work, and I wake up in the morning and I'm feeling, contractions. I'm wondering, those Braxton Hicks, you know, false labor and whatnot. I'm like, it'll go away. So I go about my day. I go to work, and we actually had a doctor at the office, and I said, all right, today could be the day I'm feeling some kind of way, you know. And he was like, okay, well, I'm here. Just shout if you need anything, you know. And I spent the whole day at work, and I was like, I just feel weird. I feel weird. My husband came and picked me up at 1. And with this particular pregnancy, I stopped driving. I was like, I want to be driven. I have to be driven, you know. Even if I can drive, the morning sickness has gone and the motion sickness has gone, but drive me. So you drive me and you pick me. And where I'm going to go, you take me. I'm not doing this independent woman thing. I'm going to be driven by my man, right? So he came to pick me up, and I was like, I need to get some wool. So I went shopping for my wool, and these contractions are happening, by the way, consistently from morning when I woke up at 5, right up until 1. I'm doing my thing, going around, whatever, contractions. We get home, I cook sadza, you know, and I feed my daughter, but I'm still just feeling odd. So I would have moments like when things were getting a little overwhelming, and I'd phone my dad, like, Daddy, things are hard. I need my parents. And then Dad and I would just talk, you know, you're trying to make me feel better and things like that. So we just have conversations. So on that night, I called him. I was like, Daddy, I'm not feeling okay. You know, my back is so. And as I was talking to him, tears were just streaming down my eyes.
Down. Yeah, my parent.
Exactly. And then he's like, oh, definitely. So he's like, just go to the hospital, babe. And I'm like, but he's not due until for another 3 weeks. And he's like, just go, take your bag and just go. So it was a Friday. So Auntie had gone away for the weekend, you know, so we needed somewhere to leave our daughter. So I started looking around, and my cousin was able to take her in. And then we proceeded and went to the hospital. We get there, and everything that I was feeling just
Gone.
stopped, like silence. And I was like,
Do you see what boys do to you? Like, my water's broken, then he chilled. That's what your son did.
right? And I was feeling dramatic. But the moment they put all these things on me, he was like, oh, this is an invasion of my space. What's going on here? Okay, I'm gonna watch you. You tell, I'm gonna see what you're doing, you know? So he just went quiet. And I was like, oh, okay, so this is awkward. Can I go home? You know? And they're like, no, we have to keep you here overnight. They take off all their gadgets, and then they're like, okay, so this is where you're sleeping. And the moment I get settled, the contractions come back. So this is like now around 11 p.m. My husband's gone home, right? And then I'm like, oh, the contractions have kind of come back. And then they're like, okay, do you want a painkiller? And I said, no, they're not anything to write home about. The entire night that I slept there, I was like up and down to the bathroom, back and up and down and up and down. And then at around 4, that's when I felt the pain was starting to intensify, you know, but not intensity that was scary, you know. So this nurse would be coming in and checking on me and everything. And then after I just come back from the bathroom, she tells me that I need to remove my underwear. And actually she found me wearing my underwear. She's like, in the labor ward, you do not wear underwear. I'm like, oh.
Underwear, yeah.
So I'm like taking it off. As I'm taking it off, she's like, she gave me a pad. So I'm taking off and put the pad on. My waters broke. I was like, oh, something just, and I had never felt that sensation because with my daughter, they broke the sac, right? And that's how then I got into active labor. So here my waters broke. And then the pain came on.
Yeah.
Yes. So I was like, that painkiller you're talking about, I think I can take it, you know. Let's do it. So they gave me the painkiller. So I slept a little bit. I got a little bit drowsy and I slept. And then it intensified and woke me up. And then they moved me to the place where I was going to deliver, you know. And I was like, call my husband. And they were like, no, you're still far, you're not progressing. I'm like, look, dude, I progress very quickly. Can you call my husband? They're like, no. So I still had my phone. So I texted him. I was like, get here now, you know. And the last person I spoke to was my dad. He called to check in on me and whatever. And then after that, I just switched the phone off and I put it away. And I waited for the man to arrive. And he came, right? So he came and he found me holding onto the bedpost. And I was like, it hurts. And I was screaming. The pain was so bad, you know. But hey, 10 o'clock, little man was born and it was done.
You have fast pregnancies. You have fast delivery.
Yeah, fast deliveries. So now I'm happy, baby is born, what. Everything seems normal like last time. I'm going home. I get home. When I was in the hospital and I was supposed to sit in the salt, they give you this dish that you have to sit down, like literally get down on the ground in order to do the salt thing. Down was so far away, you know. And as I was going down, I heard something like literally snap, you know. And I thought nothing of it. I was like, I don't know, maybe something clicked around me. I get home and I sleep, I wake up, something is in the dryer. The dryer is going so our dryer has moments where it falls asleep and it just rests and then it starts up again. So the dryer slept and went quiet. Then it started much later. And it shocked me because I wasn't expecting it and I thought something was burning because we only use gas. So I thought maybe something was going on with the stove. So I'm running to check and see what's going on in the kitchen. And I got there and there was nothing. Now I'm turning around to come back. I can't move. Like, I literally can't move. Like, what's going on? I literally had to get down on the floor and crawl back to where I was, right? And I'm thinking this is just a momentary thing. Oh no, it was just that moment. So I sat there for the rest of the day and I completely forgot what I was doing because I had an order of 30 headbands for new babies that had been born at our work. So I was busy crocheting, right? managing the baby and crocheting, managing the baby and crocheting. So my husband comes back and we eat and whatever. And now we're going to bed. Imagine I haven't even gone to the bathroom like all day. We're going to bed and I get up and I want to try and walk. And I can't. I'm like, babe, I can't walk. And he's like, what? What's going on? Then I explained to him what happened in the morning. And then I was like, okay, so let's, because he couldn't carry me because I was heavy then. He's like, okay, so put your one leg on my leg and I will lift that leg and then we'll drag the other leg. So that's how we
Three-legged race.
Yes, literally like the three-legged race. So that's how we got to our room. And then when we got in the room, I couldn't separate my legs in order to get into bed because that was like pain beyond anything under the sun. Even labor didn't amount to the same kind of pain. So they put my legs together, swung them so that I could get in the bed. I couldn't turn over. Whatever position I was in when I got into the bed, that's the position I would stay in all night.
What was that?
My pelvis had separated.
You're not really dramatic, are you? No, not dramatic at all.
And to think, I had a little 2.8 kg baby handle. So the tiny, both of them were like 2.8, you know, small little things. And my pelvis is separated. It was ridiculous. And I had to endure this pain for 2 months of my life. So I was actually looking it up. And it says, Kuti, it takes 3 to 8 months to resolve on its own.
And you had no physio, no nothing.
No,
you just had to.
No, nothing. The doctor was like, it will self-rectify. And walking literally was like an inch at a time, like tiny, tiny, tiny little steps. And in the beginning, I had to pee in a bucket because there was no way I could get to the toilet fast enough.
Of course. Yeah. You couldn't move.
No, I couldn't. And I like what you went through, I had to go through the same of being taken care of, like micromanaged through life, you know? So it was hard. But the crazy thing was when my son came, it's amazing. Like my career was starting to make sense. You know, I was going through stuff. I was going through processes that were amazing. I was part of things, you know, like I participated in the development of a national action plan, you know?
Wow.
Yeah. And I was a person who was also looked at to see what an M&E framework, an organizational M&E framework was supposed to look like. So I actually was preparing for this presentation and it was going to be my moment, you know? And the Friday that I went into the hospital, like that presentation was supposed to be on the Monday.
Oh, wow.
I was so sad. I like literally wanted to go to work on that day.
Yeah, you like, I need to do my presentation.
Work, you know, I was so sad. Then somebody else had to take my place and they could not understand the gravity of what it was that I was going through at the time. So it was, and everybody, like, you know, because I was always attending these meetings and everything with my little belly, everybody loved my pregnancy and things like that, you know. So I became known as a pregnant girl, the smart pregnant girl, you know.
Yeah.
So now here I am in this bittersweet moment where I'm happy to no longer be pregnant, but I'm sad because there were things I was a part of that were amazing, you know, and I still wanted to be a part of them. But now I had to take 3 months of my life off in order to manage my home affairs, you know.
And how were you feeling? What was the, did you have postpartum depression? Did you?
You know, like when we put all of these things together, like being a mother of two, I had to learn to be a mother of two, and it took a while. You know, in the beginning, it was always, no, don't do this to the baby. And I feel like I needed my daughter to grow up faster than the age that she was at the time. And in so doing, I kind of distanced her and made her have some semblance of resentment towards her brother, you know?
Right.
And it took a lot to break that. But at the same time, I was feeling all the pressures from what was going on with my body. The hypertension came back full force, like it wasn't even joking. I took time to heal from my stitches. My stitches only completely healed after 6 weeks, you know?
Wow.
I had to there was a point when I realized that I'm not healing well, and I had to look for this home visitor. There was a home visitor who came and supported me with my first baby. So I remembered that, and I looked for their number, and I said, please come and help me with the second baby. And this was now like 4 weeks on, and I wasn't coping well. So there were all these things that were going on, and it was somewhat overwhelming, you know? Not to mention people wanting to come and visit the baby and things like that, and you have to be your best foot forward and all that stuff. It was just hard,
It's
right?
exhausting.
And
Do
then
not visit, please. I just wish that we could put a sign on a door. New mom, leave her, please. You know?
unless you're coming to help.
Just honestly, just don't come and stand on ceremony for a new mom. Don't come and be tete or my nini or, and want to be served.
No.
Come and be the person who helps.
And I actually wrote like a how-to guide for visiting a new baby, and it was very much informed by what I went through. That please bring food. Please don't make me have to put out money to go and find stuff to serve you. Just come with what you want to eat. Bring your juice, bring your biscuits or whatever. Just come, let's eat together, and then you go, you know? Don't come and want to stay. Don't sleep. Come and go. You know, don't make me have to think about your bedding, where you're going to sleep and all of that. No, just come and go, right? Call before you come. I might have said it's okay yesterday, but call today because you don't know how I slept through the night, you know? So there are things, yeah. Or didn't, exactly. There's so many things. And my son had this cry. You know, he also had colic like your son. He had this thing that it would like start to build up.
The schedule.
And then when he got to this particular threshold, if he was not supported at that point and he tipped over and went over onto the other side, that was it. He would cry for the next 3 hours solid, you know? Yeah. And you're just, oh gosh. You try and breastfeed.
I remember the time we did the cereal. You know, my mother-in-law came. It was the mother-in-law. It was my tete. It was my sister. It was the father. It was I. We did this like round this one night where this child would not sleep.
And we get to that point, you know, where your nerves are shot because you're concerned. Is he gonna be okay? The noise is irritating, you know, and you just have run out of options. And you ask yourself, is this something that I need to take him to the hospital? You know, but you've actually seen this is like a consistent pattern of behavior. So this is not sickness. This is just a baby thing. And I'm sure at the hospital will be like, there's something wrong.
And it's not your first child. So you don't come and we expect this with your first child. We don't expect it with your second.
Yeah, and then they're like, how many kids do you have? You're like, 2. And they're like, okay. You know, it's very condescending.
You know, it's like, oh yeah, this is a dramatic one. Yeah.
It's a very condescending, okay. You know? So he had that cry and it was,
yeah.
Because that thing. Then I went back. So I realized that emotionally, mentally, I wasn't okay to go back to work. So I took an extra month off, you know. So I was home for 4 months and then I went after. But whatever I went through, and even when I went back to work, you know, it's like where my desk was like upstairs. So every time I'd get to work, I had to walk very slowly.
To go up, yeah.
to the top, because my legs, even after 4 months, they were still very, very sore. But I guess during that space, within the 4 months, that's when I went through what I went through. My hypertension was like so bad. I literally got, there was a particular day when things were so scary, because I could feel my heart just fluttering.
Pumping. Yeah.
I could feel it. It didn't feel normal. And I had the doctor on like on WhatsApp, and I was telling him, he was saying, tell me your BP every 30 minutes. So I had actually, my BP was bad that I had to buy a BP machine, right? So he was like, tell me your BP every 30 minutes. And every day I had to log it down. And the BP was bad. Like me getting to the point where I could actually feel how my heart was beating was scary, you know? But thankfully I was on meds and they worked, and I was able to get over that curve, and it was okay. But yeah, those were my pregnancy experiences. Wrap it up. To those who've gone through stuff, I think you can tell from our stories that pregnancy wasn't an easy road for us. And it's not an easy road for everyone. There are others who will go through pregnancy with a little less struggles. And that's also not bad. So there's nothing wrong with you going through it and feeling bad about it. And there's also nothing wrong with you going through it and not feeling wrong, you know? I think at the end of the day, what's important is just showing compassion and kindness, because we really don't know the road that anyone is traveling on, and it's not our place to make judgments or draw conclusions over things we don't know or don't understand. So whoever's out there and you're going through the most, just know you're not alone. Reach out. Someone may be there to give you a helping hand.
Do you know, this has been the most amazing conversation. I was feeling some kind of way today. I had one of those days. I even had the therapist today. And so this has really given me life again. So I want to thank you, Janet, for this beautiful conversation. And I just want to say to the ladies out there, and to parents in general, that I have my mantra is ABC, which is attend to your basic needs with compassion.
Yeah.
So please attend to your basic needs with compassion. We women, we're so hard on ourselves. We are our own worst enemy, because that voice in our heads, which says, you have to be perfect. You have to have the perfect house. You can't have dust. You know, you cannot have, I mean, I was brought up by a mother who was a nurse. So the standards of hygiene that are expected in a household are like hospital level. You know, the bleach thing. It's not me. And for Janet, who lost her mother, so she couldn't have this conversation. She couldn't ask her mother, is this what you went through? Should I be feeling like this? You know, this is so important that this conversation is taking place for those women who may not have a mother, you know, for whatever reason. It may be reasons beyond your control. It may be a toxic parent. It's so important to have this. So thank you, Janet. This has been wonderful.
Thank you, Wazi. Thank you, Wazi, for reaching out. Wazi actually came to me on her own, and I'm so thrilled.
The universe conspired.
Thank you. So until next time, we will be tuning in with more insights and more stories. So thank you for watching. Thank you for listening. Thank you, Wazi.